Is your older dog pacing at night, standing and staring at walls, or getting stuck in corners like they've forgotten where they are? Maybe they're suddenly more anxious or clingy, or they've started having accidents in the house again. A lot of people are told that's just aging, but for many dogs, it's actually something called cognitive dysfunction, the dog version of dementia. And it often starts years before anyone says the word. In this video, I'm going to show you the 4 hidden drivers inside the body that quietly change the brain, and then the specific foods, supplements, and testing that can help your dog feel more present and settled again. I'm Dr. Katie Woodley, holistic veterinarian and founder of The Natural Pet Doctor. I help pet parents stop chasing symptoms and start working on root causes, especially with gut health, skin issues, and chronic conditions that just aren't improving. Now, cognitive decline is one of the areas where I see a lot of silent suffering, but also where, when we support the whole body, we can often change how a dog feels day to day. So let's start with what's actually happening in the brain and then move into what you can do at home. So this condition is called cognitive dysfunction syndrome, and it's similar to Alzheimer's in humans. But here's where I approach this very differently. This is not just a brain disease. This is a whole body process. So instead of asking, how old's my pet? We need to start asking, what is driving the brain to decline in the first place? And as we walk through these 4 drivers, notice which ones fit your dog. That's going to guide you where you want to start. So first, gut imbalance and inflammation. If your dog has had lifelong gut or skin issues, this first driver is usually involved. The gut and brain are constantly communicating through something called the gut-brain axis. Now, there are 3 main pathways: nerve signaling via the vagus nerve, immune signaling, and chemical signaling through microbial metabolites like short-chain fatty acids. Now, when the gut is healthy, it produces beneficial compounds like short-chain fatty acids, such as butyrate, that actually support the gut lining and help regulate inflammation. But when it's not healthy, the gut becomes leaky, and toxins like lipopolysaccharides or LPS can enter the circulation. Inflammation increases, and that inflammation can actually reach the brain. This activates immune cells in the brain called microglia and accelerates aging and degenerative changes. Now, the second driver is low brain energy. So if your dog seems slower to boot up in the morning or get going or gets confused more easily, this is often an energy problem, not just old age. The brain is one of the most energy demanding organs in the body, and that energy comes from mitochondria. So I want you to think of mitochondria like they're the power plants of each cell. They're generating energy, or what we call ATP. When mitochondria aren't working well, energy production drops, meaning less ATP is produced. Brain cells can't communicate properly, and brain function declines. So this is why we see confusion, slower responses, disorientation. So once again, this isn't just aging, it's a cellular energy crisis. And then our third driver is oxidative stress and toxin load. So if your dog's had a lot of medications, vaccines, or lives in a toxin-heavy environment, this is where their brain can get overwhelmed. As pets age, they accumulate damage from something called oxidative stress. This is basically an imbalance between free radicals and antioxidants. So over time, pets accumulate environmental toxins, oxidative damage, and metabolic waste. And if those detox pathways are not working well, toxins accumulate, the brain becomes more vulnerable. And this combination damages brain cells, increases inflammation, and accelerates decline. And then our fourth driver is metabolic and stress imbalance. If your dog's blood sugar or stress has been up and down for years, that brain is also riding that roller coaster too. The brain is extremely sensitive to blood sugar and stress. And when blood sugar is unstable, the energy supply to the brain fluctuates, leading to confusion and fatigue. So when stress is chronic, cortisol increases, inflammation increases, and also our gut health worsens. So it actually becomes a feedback loop that impacts the brain and also the gut. So when these 4 drivers add up together, the blood-brain barrier becomes compromised. And this is where inflammation increases, we get repair signals decrease, and damage accumulates. That's why your pet starts to feel really different. So keep in mind, This is not sudden. This is years in the making, just like it is for people in Alzheimer's. But the good news is we can support these areas from the outside in. And I like to think of it in three layers: food, targeted supplements, and testing when you feel like you're guessing. So let's start with food because it's something you can change gently, one bowl at a time. Now, the brain is about 60% fat. So what you feed actually matters. Focus on fresh, minimally processed foods and diets, high quality proteins, and healthy fats, and reducing ultra processed diets that drive inflammation. Now, I want to go a little bit deeper here because I don't want you just giving supplements and hoping they work. I want you to actually understand why they work so you can make more confident decisions for your pet. Now, think about healthy fats for the brain. These are going to be your omega 3s, your EPA, DHA. Your omega-3 fatty acids are one of the most important nutrients for brain health. So here's what they actually do. They become a part of the cell membrane of brain cells. They improve flexibility and communication between those neurons. They actually reduce neuroinflammation, calming overactive immune cells, the microglia in the brain, and they increase the brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, which is like the fertilizer for brain cells, helping them to repair and grow. So this is why consistent omega-3 support can improve cognition over time. Now, I also want to think about better brain fuel. This would be things like MCT oil. And this is one of my favorite tools and one that's often overlooked. MCT oil works differently than most fats, including your omega-3s. Instead of needing complex digestion, it's actually rapidly converted into ketones. Now, ketones are an alternative fuel source for the brain. And this is really important because as the brain ages, it becomes less efficient at using glucose for energy. So what happens? Energy drops, brain function declines. But MCT oil helps bypass that problem by providing immediate fuel. It improves mitochondrial function and it supports cognitive clarity. And there are actually numerous studies in dogs showing improved cognition function with MCT supplementation. Now, I also want you to be thinking about mitochondrial support. Remember, they're the powerhouses in the cells producing ATP or energy. These are going to be things like CoQ10 and L-carnitine. Now, if the brain doesn't have energy, it can't function. It's that simple. These nutrients are going to support the energy systems directly. CoQ10 helps generate ATP, once again, cellular energy inside the mitochondria. And carnitine helps transport fats into mitochondria so they can be used as fuel. Together, they improve energy production, neuron function, overall brain resilience. Now, here's some optional targeted supports that I absolutely love, so listen up. Lion's mane. Lion's mane is one of my favorite mushrooms for cognitive health. Lion's mane is one of the few natural compounds that actually supports brain repair. So it works by stimulating nerve growth factor, NGF. So NGF helps repair damaged neurons. It supports new neural connections, overall improving communication in the brain. So this is actually huge when we're dealing with degeneration. And then we also have herbs like ginkgo and hawthorn. Now, the brain's incredibly dependent on optimal blood flow. And these herbs are going to help by increasing circulation to the brain, improving oxygen delivery, and enhancing nutrient delivery to the brain tissue. Better blood flow equals better brain function. And then we don't want to forget about methylation support. This is one of the most overlooked areas of cognitive health. Methylation is basically how the body detoxifies, repairs DNA, how it regulates brain chemistry. And it needs nutrients like B6, B12, folate, choline, and magnesium. These nutrients help produce neurotransmitters, they support detox, and they stabilize brain function. Without these, the brain struggles to regulate itself properly. And then finally, we need to be thinking about gut support. When we improve the gut, we reduce inflammation going to the brain. So support here is going to really help restore microbial balance, produce those beneficial compounds like butyrate, strengthen the gut lining, reduce toxin leakage. This ultimately is going to reduce brain on fire, or what we call neuroinflammation. And this is where we can use compounds like probiotics to help restore that microbial balance and support a healthy immune system. Prebiotics, which are going to feed the beneficial bacteria, and beneficial microbes like Saccharomyces boulardii that help support gut integrity and reduce inflammation. By improving the gut health, you can reduce the inflammatory signals reaching the brain. Now, here's the thing. You don't need to start all of these at once. Pick one area that fits your dog best. And I also want to say something really important because I know not everyone has access to supplements right away, and you might still be wondering where to even start. The good news is you can start supporting your pet's brain with whole foods. Remember, the brain is incredibly nutrient dependent. So when we use whole foods strategically, we're doing a few key things. Once again, you're providing antioxidants that are going to reduce inflammation. We're supporting mitochondrial energy production. We're stabilizing blood sugar, and we're feeding the gut microbiome, which all directly impact brain function. So think about sardines or other small oily fish. These are one of my favorite brain supportive foods. They provide natural source of omega-3s that reduce brain inflammation. They're a natural source of whole food vitamin D that supports immune and neurological health and even certain trace minerals. And an easy tip for this is just add these sardines a few times a week as a superfood topper. And then also be thinking about organ meats like liver. Organ meats are nature's multivitamin. They're rich in B vitamins, once again, supporting methylation and the brain chemistry, iron, that's going to help with oxygen delivery, choline, that's supporting memory and cognition, and even small amounts can make a big difference. And the amazing fruits, blueberries, or other low glycemic fruits are essentially powerful. These are powerful antioxidants. They're going to help reduce oxidative stress and protect those brain cells from damage. So think of these as protecting the brain from aging. And then we have our dark leafy greens. These are going to support detox and provide key minerals. They contain magnesium, which are calming and nervous system support, and they're a great source of folate, which is once again your methylation, and also they have antioxidants. If you're worried about a sensitive pet, lightly steamed is best for digestion. Now, let's remember our eggs. Eggs are an incredible brain food. Eggs are going to provide choline, which supports memory and neurotransmitters, healthy fats, and protein for repair. So even just adding a few of these foods into your pet's bowl a couple times a week, you're already starting to reduce inflammation, support brain repair, improve gut health, and stabilize their whole entire system. And when you're ready to take things a step further, this is where targeted supplementation can really help fill in the gaps. Because while whole foods are powerful, it can be hard to consistently provide therapeutic levels of these nutrients through diet alone. In my practice, I often use standard process canine cognition support for the targeted brain and neurological support, standard process VF omega-3s for pets to provide consistent therapeutic omega-3 levels, and then standard process, either the feline or the canine whole body support to really help support overall nutrient balance and resilience through whole food supplementation. These are all going to help provide many of the nutrients we just talked about. It's just in a more consistent and bioavailable way. And to make this easier for you, I've linked all the specific supplements and brands I use in the description below and in the blog post. So you're not guessing or overwhelmed trying to figure it out. And if you feel like you've tried everything, this is usually where testing becomes really important because we want to understand mineral imbalances, toxin load, gut health, and know where different systems in your individual pet may need additional support. So if you're ready to stop guessing or trying all the supplements, hoping the next one works, this is why I put the exact functional tests I use in my own pets and with my clients, plus my starter frameworks into a free gut health starter guide. So you can download that from the link in the description. It's going to help you see which of these drivers might be most active in your dog right now so you can take targeted action to help your pet feel their best again. I know how hard this is. It can feel like you're slowly losing your pet, and that's incredibly emotional and difficult. But this isn't just something you have to accept. When we support the body as a whole, we can help your pet feel more present, more connected, and more like themselves again. You don't have to just watch your pet decline. There is another way to support them. Let me know in the comments what you're going to start using for your pet today to help their brain age gracefully.